All right. Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to another live edition of the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veteran Corner. And of course, I'm your host, retired Army First Sergeant Paul Holbert. And I hope everyone out there had a great holiday and a new year, and they're ready for 2025 to start. We've already got a lineup of shows for you for the next several months. So, of course, we want to invite all of you to continue to join us. We appreciate the audience participation and your emails and messages. The other thing I'd like to say again is thank you for your participation, because it's because of an audience like you that helped us make the list of top 25 podcasts here in Northern Virginia to watch. So we appreciate that and your participation in watching the recorded shows. We're going to get started in just a moment, but I want to mention our sponsors tonight. Before we start, first, I want to thank Nationwide IT. NIS is a service-disabled veteran-owned small business owned by retired Army Warrant Officer C.K. Park. CK has offices across the United States as he supports clients, both public and private, and his company is experienced. He has a large veteran employee base as well, and they are experienced in everything from IT, security, personal and professional development, training, and business development. So whatever you think you might need for your business, you can give CK and his crew a call there at the number on your screen, and they will be more than glad to help you and talk with you. I also want to thank Hill and Ponton, PA. Hill and Ponton are veteran disability attorneys located in Florida. They have been in business for over 30 years and have helped thousands of clients out there looking to get assistance in navigating the VA disability and benefit system. Folks, if you're struggling with that, you can also go to their website, because they do offer free webinars and information webinars on there at no charge. And if you decide that you need the extra help, talk with them and they'll be glad to help you. Normally, I know that they do not charge you a fee unless they can help you. So if you need that help to navigate the veteran system, as some folks do, reach out to Hill and Ponton, and we appreciate our sponsors. All right, let's start tonight, and I'm going to introduce tonight's guest. We have with us tonight retired Army Master Sergeant Aurea Franklin. Aurea was born in Luzon, Philippines. And she retired from the Army from, in fact, the 101st Airborne Division. We'll talk a little bit about that, where she was twice decorated. She also has the master's degrees, 2 MBAs, and a master in public administration. So she's kept herself pretty busy since those military days, including writing several books, and she's active with the VFW and veteran support. So we're going to talk with her in a few minutes and find out more. So, Aurea, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Paul. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you for inviting me over.
Oh, no, it's good. You know, I get my share of all kinds of veterans on the show, but the female veterans are always fewer and farther between for some reason. So I'm always especially happy to have you guys on. Yeah, so it's great to have another female veteran on the show with us tonight. So as we get started, all right, you were originally born in the Philippines. Can you just kind of briefly share with us how you came to the United States and how it was that you ended up in the Army?
Sure. You know, I wrote it. It's in my book. I communicated with this gentleman. His name was Saul, and he was from Hawaii. Uh-huh. We met. He was my pen pal. He was introduced to me by a fellow instructor. I was a school teacher back in the Philippines.
Okay.
And, we were introduced, and he came over to the Philippines. We met, and we like each other, so we got married there, and almost the entire village were invited. Was invited, and it was a huge wedding, and then he brought me over here, the United States.
Yeah.
And when he went back to work, when we went back to work, I decided to look for a job.
Oh, okay.
I was looking for a computer related jobs, and then I bumped into the United States Army recruiting station.
Oh my gosh. What a
So
place to look for a job, huh?
in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah. So that's how you ended up in the Army. You walked into the recruiting station in Honolulu.
Yes, sir.
And how did they get you? What did they tell you?
They told me that I can be all I can be. And my father was a disciplinarian, and I thought I will be able to handle anything,
Hmm.
including a hard life in the Army. I know it's rough, but
Yeah.
I gave it a try, and my husband then was, he was proud of me.
Yeah.
So I got in, and I did well, not too bad.
Well, so how many years did you serve altogether before you retired?
Yes, I served 23 years before I retired. I wanted to go farther, but they have a limit in the military. I
Yeah.
joined the Army when I was 31 years old.
Okay.
Sorry. So it was, but I was so proud. I mean, I did well compared with our young troops. I
Yeah.
max my PT every time, so not too bad.
I have to tell you, it's funny because you said you were what, 30, how old? When did you join?
31.
31. So the funny thing was when I joined in 1981, I was 21 because I had already been to
Oh,
a couple years of college.
mhm.
And myself and one of the other recruits who joined, the Army in their wisdom made us PFCs, E3s because we had been to 2 years of school.
Yeah.
And we were a little bit older than everyone else. And of course, at 21, we were referred to as the old men.
Oh my goodness.
So I can just imagine how some of the other recruits may have looked at you in your 30s like that. Did you ever catch any flack over that?
Not really. Not
No?
really. No. I just
Ah,
in Honolulu, they're trying. They give me all these. They took me out to lunch. They took me out to dinner.
yeah,
Just like, okay, Aurea, you stay with us. You'll do well, and gave me this encourage me to do well, and they
yeah,
showed me how to do the right push-ups, the right
yeah,
sit-ups, things that you would expect, things that you would need before joining the military, including the tests, because we have to go through a written test, right?
yes, yeah,
And they were surprised, just coming from the Philippines,
yeah,
doing that. Well, English was I would say, primary um, language in schools at that time before they changed it to our national language, which is Tagalog.
yeah,
So, when I came to the United States, it was really relatively easy for me, although I had a very strong accent, and
oh, yeah,
people could hardly understand what I was saying. So, it was a long way to learn how to speak. When you're in Rome, you got to be like, act like you're in Rome, like
well,
do what the Romans do
yeah, when in Rome, right?
when you're in Rome. Yes.
Yeah, so you joined the Army and you spent all those years in, and the interesting thing is I see that you deployed with the 101st Airborne Division, which I also served in from 1982 to 1984,
Really?
or 85, I should say.
What
Um,
unit were you with?
I was in second, was it second of the, gosh, was it second of the 17th Field Artillery over in DeVarty
Okay.
when I was there? But you served there, and you deployed with them on several occasions to Operation Iraqi Freedom. So there's a lot of folks out there, including some of the ladies in our audience, that probably are interested in your perspective of what it was like to be deployed over there as a female soldier. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, it was relatively difficult. It was tough, especially for the young soldiers, female
Yeah.
soldiers, of course. They have to go through his biological needs, right? And it was tough because I, based on my readings, the military was made for men because they have broader soldiers. They're strong, you know, and that is the reason why we only have 17.6% female soldiers in the
Yeah.
military today.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be one of them. It was difficult, but it was, I know, the job is just like what you did when you were in the rear. It was in a different environment,
Yeah.
hostile environment. It was dangerous all over the place.
Yeah.
So you have to watch your back. And was I? Somebody asked me if I was mistreated, or if I were discriminated, or I had sexual harassment, or things like that, because those things were possible in
Yeah.
combat. But thank God, God was on my side. I did not encounter those. I had a good unit. They respected the women.
Yeah.
If they could bring our food to our table, they would.
Mm.
So we didn't have any issues. I was in HR, so I should have known if there was any.
Okay, so you worked either in an S1 or a pack or something like that. Is that what you were doing?
I
Personnel?
worked in the S1, yes. I
Yeah,
did.
yeah. It's funny because my first experience with female soldiers during my Army career
Yes.
was at the end of my career. I had spent all my time in infantry, combat arms, artillery, armored cav, combat aviation. And so I finally get to my first unit with female soldiers, and it was a signal battalion in Germany in 1st Infantry Division. And lo and behold, I end up getting promoted, and the next thing you know, they approach me about becoming the first sergeant of the headquarters company, which,
Wow.
as you know, has the S1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the dining facility. But the interesting thing was, I had, out of the 135 soldiers I had about 40 female soldiers. So for me, being a first sergeant in a mixed unit like that and being my first exposure to female soldiers, you can imagine how interesting that was for me.
Yeah.
So that was my first. But you know what? I always found that for the most part, most of the female soldiers that I had in my company, they were hardworking, they were professional, and it's just like the male soldiers. You're always going to have one or two or three or four that you struggle with. But yeah, for the most part, I thought the female soldiers handled themselves very well.
Yes, and it was to our leadership surprise that, like I said, you only get 17.6% women in the military,
Yeah.
thinking that we cannot do what our male counterparts would do. But to their surprise, we were able to, and we were in combat, and we supported our infantry, artillerymen,
Yeah.
the combat, the combat air support, everybody. We also supported the special forces, our aviators, the 60th
Mhm.
Aviation Brigade, and everybody. So
Yeah.
there were about 30,000 soldiers deployed in 2003 into Iraq, and including those that were attached to us.
Yeah.
And being you will, I found myself like a really, I know, we were in combat, and of course you have to take care of yourself. You being
Yeah.
female, you know how it is sort of the opposite sex. So you just have to be cognizant of the environment. And
Sure.
look at how I brought my Bible with me, so that's what I did every night. I read my Bible. I finished my reading my Bible from cover to cover, and when I keep praying, and I was lucky. Some of our soldiers didn't make it back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you were in an area where you were working in a personnel section or an S1, I know over there you guys had to constantly be vigilant about mortar attacks and all kinds of different things coming in to those bases. So, but I think it's great. You had a successful career. You made it to master sergeant before you retired, and I mean that says a lot because. Yourself as a senior NCO, the higher you go up in rank, the more competitive it gets, and slots dwindle even more each step you go. So I have to congratulate you for that, especially, coming from another country like you did and walking into that recruiting station and having a successful career like that. So you finished your time over in Iraq. What caused you, what made you decide it was finally time to retire and move on? How was that?
The military, I think they changed it now. When you reach a certain age in the military, they retire you.
Yeah.
And I really would like to move on. Really, I would like to make it like for a lifetime, because the Army was good for me. They were there, they were there when my late husband passed away. From the time he was sick, the Army took care of me. I was blessed that I had an excellent chain of command. They took care of me. They Thanksgiving, they gave me that Thanksgiving basket.
Yeah.
And I told them, I expressed my sentiments. I said, I don't need these, Oh yes, just take it, So I am really, I was so touched by them showing some love for me.
Yeah.
That's what I also do now. I show some love. I am leading the combined federal campaign, and I'm very, very, very enthusiastic about it and very successful with this charity. I know how it is to, to be there going through hard times. Can you imagine? And I don't have my family here at that time.
Yeah.
Just by myself. So nobody helped me with my husband, but it was so difficult. But his family, of course. And without my chain of command, I wouldn't have made it today. And
that's great that they rallied around you like that. I actually had a soldier in my company in Germany when I was a first sergeant. I got a call from the battalion staff duty one night. The Red Cross had contacted them, and her brother was actually murdered back home in Texas. And you know what it's like when you have a soldier get devastating news. The unit, does everything they can for them. And of course, we definitely made arrangements. And she had just got there too and moved her family there. They didn't even have furniture in their quarters. And we made arrangements and worked with the Red Cross and was able to fly them all back home. And then her unit, her company, by the time she returned, they had a bunch of stuff in her quarters for her to help them out. So, yeah, you're right. It's a good community So I want to, again, I want to congratulate you on your career and what you've done. We're going to take just a short break. And when we come back from the break, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what you're doing now and your work with the VFW and your books and things like that. So for those of you out there watching, hold on. We'll be right back and we'll continue our conversation.
In service of our nation, you gave everything you had. You sacrificed your comfort, your peace, and sometimes even your well-being. Over 3 decades, Hill and Ponton has helped to be a guiding light for veterans seeking their rightful disability benefits. When our heroes are in need, we are not just lawyers. We're an ally, a team who understands the struggles you faced. If you're a veteran seeking the benefits you deserve, let us stand with you on this journey, because every battle deserves a hero, and no hero should fight alone.
Living in a world filled with lunacy, it seems that stress and turmoil follow us everywhere we go. Perhaps it's gotten to the point where you wish you could turn off the distractions of daily living and have a good laugh. Well, we have a recommendation for you. Pick up a copy of The Dunce Cap, a humorous and satirical look at American society and the follies of our culture. Join the author Paul Holbert as he takes you on a trip through the nonsensical and often ridiculous practices of our everyday lives, from political correctness and our legal system to the folly of the media and our obsession with reality television. See how these and other outrageous practices of everyday people make us a perfect cast for the next slapstick sitcom. So go ahead, you know you need it. Take a frank look at the more nonsensical side of American society and see why we are prime candidates for the stool in the corner and the dunce cap that sits on top.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. And you've been watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner with me, your host, Paul Holbert. And we have been talking with Aurea Franklin tonight, retired Army Master Sergeant. And Aurea, I want to kind of continue our discussion because you did kind of what I did. I mean, once I retired, I did work in the private sector for a year, but then I went to work for the federal government as well, working for a number of agencies. I just retired from my second career, December 31st of last year. And I worked at one of the assignments I had, which I really enjoyed during my time, is I spent about three and a half years working at the VA. And that was one of the agencies I really enjoyed.
Where were you in the VA?
I worked for Employee Education Systems. Our offices were across the street from the main VA building in Washington. So they were called EES, Employee Education Systems. And I really enjoyed it. And I understand you've been doing some pretty heavy work with veterans and you're involved with the VFW. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, VFW is, I'm an active member, but I'm actually currently employed with a federal agency just like you. I work for the Veterans Affairs, and every day is Veterans Day for us. You know, all of these things that I've learned in the military and the Army, it made me a better person. It made me a better leader. And taking care of soldiers, taking care of troops, taking care of veterans now, because, when they transition from military into civilian, then they become our customers,
Right, yeah.
Become veterans. And I like you, I enjoy working for in this agency, serving my fellow veterans. And before I joined this group, I went through the disappointments, of course.
Yeah.
But once I got in, I said, I will make a big difference for the fellow veterans. We help them, get a federal job across the federal agencies. I'm in fair contracts.
Yeah.
And we help them with a lot of things, and they're very thankful. Most of them are very thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's not new. It's just like it's just like my second skin, because I'm a veteran and I know how they feel. I know if they're a combat veteran, I've been there, I've done that, and I get a brown T-shirt. So, it's not it's not a strange thing to me.
Well, I think that's important too, because, you having lived part of that life, because I found it useful, being a combat veteran myself during my time in, and then going to work at the VA. To me, I found it gave me a lot easier to talk with a lot of the veterans that I ran into. I had the pleasure of talking with several of them when we did the public service recognition work in downtown DC one year. And I was manning one of our booths, and some of the young veterans came in, and I had a chance to talk to them to see how they were being treated at the VA hospital and, some of the other things. So it's a good sense of accomplishment, a good feeling to be able to do that, isn't it?
It is a very good sense of accomplishment. And I feel proud when the veteran is successful.
Yeah.
Because when they're successful, I'm also successful. That means to say that I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I want to be a value added. I don't want to be a problem, because that's not what I signed for. And it's not because my job tells me, but because I feel it. I know how it is. I know how to become a soldier. I mean, I know how to be a soldier. I know how to become a veteran. I've been there. I've been in combat. I know the hardships they went through. I know how they dodge these bullets. I know, like the Rakkasans. Of course, you're familiar with the Rakkasans.
Yeah, the Rakkasans. Yeah.
101st, are my heroes. And we supported them whenever, like dawn, early in the morning, that helicopter, we hear it. We live nearby the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through battle. They go into a different from place to place in the villages, looking for bad people, looking for these weapons of destruction. And we lost some of them out there. Some of them, they're really, they're my heroes. I feel I've never felt secured before in my life. I feel that I felt more secure in combat zone than here.
Yeah.
Like, what happened in Louisiana just recently.
Oh, yeah.
Back there, we know that we're guarded, and we don't know our enemies because they don't have uniform. They're just wearing. They didn't have uniform, and you don't know who's your enemy. But it was a great experience, and like I said, it's good to be back and helping others.
So let's talk a little bit now about how you got into your writing, because you've actually written 2 books that you've got out, And the first one was called A Silent Freedom, a Memoir of Service in the 101st Airborne Division. And then you went on to write a fiction as well called Indivisible. And I kind of read the summary of that. It sounded kind of interesting. And I'm having done some writing myself. I found that as a good outlet for me, and I enjoy it. But how did you get into the writing? What drove you into that?
I believe it's inborn. I have this passion of writing ever since I was little. And then when I got here, when I retired, when you're in regular military, you barely, I don't know. I kept myself busy by going to school, just go, never stop. Then never have time with all these homework. I never had time to write. And then when I retired, and then one of my colleagues in the VA, Dr. Williams, advised me, like, Aurea, since you've been talking about all these combat experiences, why don't you write a book? Yeah. And I already have that manuscript, like that just sat there for a long time since 2000 when I came back, So I said, sure. And then I look at my writings, and at first, I wanted to title it like Saving Private Zilla. It's just like Saving Private Ryan, like saving Iraq. I said, no. So I've been through several titles, and then I finally decided to do A Silent Freedom because of my faith. And I believe my faith saved me and my colleagues, my fellow soldiers. I believe in that strongly because just for example, we were providing support during combat, and I led young men and women to provide personal support, their promotion. Even you're in combat, you still have to do your promotion thing, your evaluation, performance evaluations, and all that. Make sure that they get promoted even while in their combat. And there's this. Yeah. So, and then we were supposed to stay overnight. And then my commander said, you got to come back. He was my guardian angel. I said, okay, yes, sir. So he was our commanding officer. So we drove through sandstorm. You know what, sandstorm? It was really difficult. It was blinding, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we almost lost one of our Humvees because I thought they were following us, and then suddenly I looked back and they weren't there. So we had to go back and find them. And then you know what happened? So we came back. You know what happened that night? You heard we suffered the first casualties of war. Sergeant Akbar decided to throw a grenade. To throw a grenade into the tents and killed a captain instantly, followed by a major, and everyone was injured. Could you imagine if I spent overnight there, and it was, my faith probably saved me and saved my soldiers because, I always pray. I always pray that I befriended with God. I always pray that to protect us from harm and keep us safe and bring us back or unharmed.
So you decided to take those experiences in your faith and put it in your book.
Yes, and Silent Freedom is like our faith, our hope.
Yeah,
that things will get better. And this Silent Freedom, it has. I'm looking at it right now. I don't know if you were able to look at it. Silent Freedom has 4 parts. Like I really wrote down everything that we went through, what my soldiers and I went through. I was very proud of the transition of young men and women becoming independent right there, learning everything in combat, washing their clothes. Oh, we live in poverty, you know, in no running water. We we
Yeah.
just had cold water. Remember, this was 2003 when there were no luxury. We were
Well, you
just
know,
the
it's
first was
funny. It's funny you say that,
cold.
because my experience over there where you were at was in Desert Storm, and I was with on Second Armored Cav, and I lived 6 months out in the desert in an armored personnel carrier. So we had no showers, no bathrooms. We took a shower when we could.
Yeah.
We'd stop, strip down on the side of our armored vehicle, and douse ourselves with a 5-gallon can of water. Soak down and douse again, and that was so. Yeah, I mean, all those experiences I think are interesting, especially to people who have never been through them. But then you wrote about a lot of your experiences in Silent Freedom, but then you kind of morphed over into fiction with your next book, Indivisible. So and I'm going to encourage the audience to go in. There it is on the screen, AureaFranklin.com, and the books are available on Amazon. Because when I read the summary of Indivisible, I thought that was kind of interesting, that you had that couple there like that and writing about their experiences together. So I'm definitely going to encourage the audiences to go out there and take a look at that. I think they'll find it interesting. So I know that Indivisible is a book first in a series, right?
Yes, and I am almost done with the second series.
With the next one?
With the next.
Do you mind sharing with us what is that one going to be called? Can you tell us? Or do you have a title yet?
I have a title I could share with you.
Yeah, just the title, if you would.
So you should be able to guess it, because remember I started with Silent Freedom, right?
Yeah.
Freedom, and then I started with and then second was Indivisible, a fiction. Then what's next is Liberty, and then what's next will be Justice.
Just
right?
Okay. I was sitting here wondering that could it be Justice for All or something like that?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. And Indivisible is a story of two soldiers so much in love, right? I call them Ro and Antoinette. They joined the army to do their part, duty, honor, and country, and they embrace these values.
Yeah.
Their meeting was designed by destiny, and the young pair would soon discover that they were soulmates, because at the time, Ro was married, and as well as Antoinette. So, they can. They don't want to leave behind their loved ones, and they went through 12 years. 12 years passed before they reunite, and much has changed because Ro lost his wife, and Antoinette got divorced. And then it was 4 meetings.
Yeah.
First, second, third, fourth, and what fate, they met again in combat. They met in combat zone where
you know what that, I gotta tell you, what that almost sounds like?
what?
It's a similar storyline that you see when you watch a lot of the Hallmark Christmas movies, where you have people that dated someone, moved away, someone had a spouse and they died, and then they come back and they get together, and some of those are really good stories. But I'm going to encourage our audience to to go and take a look at that. You see it on the screen, AureaFranklin.com and on Amazon.com. But Aurea, I before we wrap up the show, though,
the third story, I'll give you a short one, a glimpse of liberty. Okay, my third book, my second fiction, because you asked me, it will be brief.
Don't tell us anything about the story.
Okay.
I just wanted the title. We'll let the folks, because I want them to go read your first one and have that pull them in. So don't give away your story yet, because you haven't put it out yet. So I'd rather you hold that on your sleeve. But no, I mean, it's so great that you've been able to, follow up your military career and write like you are. But one thing I'd like to ask you before we close our show is if you had one message that you could share with the audience, what would it be?
While there's life, there is hope. And we should not give up on our faith. I know sometimes it is so difficult that even faith, we just want to get rid of our faith, but you should not, because when there's faith, there is hope, and hope for a better future. And it will come. God has a plan for everyone, and just continue marching on, continue moving, continue being positive, of course. That helps a lot, right? And with faith and hope, hopefully the future will be better.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I have to tell you, I really want to thank you for spending the time with us this evening and coming on. It's always good again to hear a fellow veteran and a female veteran as well, and your experiences. And again, for the audience out there, I want to encourage you to go out and take a look at her books, see what she's doing, learn a little bit more about some of the things she's been talking about. And there you see it on the screen, A Memoir of Service in the 101st Airborne Division.
When you get into the website, it will also take you, there's a link to my Facebook.
Yes. Yeah.
I constantly update it with different themes. So.
Okay. All right. Well, Aurea, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us this evening. And it's always great to have another great veteran guest on, and someone who had such a nice career, who's been so successful, especially starting off, the way you had to, at a little bit of a disadvantage with the language and everything else. So congratulations, and thank you for spending time with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's an honor.
All right, and thank you, audience, for your viewership tonight. And I want to remind the audience, as I do for every show, as our piece of information, Veterans Info, look, vetrepreneur.com. You'll also find this on the VA website. There is free franchise coaching services for veterans, for those who are interested in opening their own small business or getting involved in their own small business, or perhaps assisting someone else with a small business. This just came out not too long ago, so you'll find it not only on the VA website, but specifically on vetrepreneur.com, which is linked to the VA. So I'm going to encourage our audience. There it is. You'll find this in our info section on my studio page for the studio. Take a look at it and see if there's something there that you can use that you're interested in. And as always, I want to thank our audience for joining us tonight. For those of you that continue to support the show, you've been watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner on the new streaming network. We hope to see you again on our next show. Thank you and good night.